Welcome to another episode of I Am That Rose. And today we have with us Nicole. Nicole, what's your last name?
Radaba.
Okay. And again, the whole reason that I'm passionate about doing this is because I think that we all have unique experiences that we go through. And those experiences really have the greatest benefit when we use them to encourage and to help other people. And so, Nicole, I'm excited to learn more about you and to hear about your story.
Thank you.
So what I want you to do is I want you to, as far back as you can remember, tell us a little bit about what life was like, what your environment was like.
Yeah, so I growing up, I knew that very early on that things were not okay at home. Um my parents fought a lot, both emotionally and physically. Um and a lot of it was because my dad was um a very angry individual. He struggled a lot with alcoholism. He struggled a lot with being able to maintain and control his own emotions and stressors. And he took it out on a lot of other people, not just family members, but friends and coworkers and a lot of people. He struggled a lot with relationships. And I saw a lot of that growing up. And it was directed towards like I said, my mom and my sister and I. And it caused things to be very chaotic, very unstable in the home.
If you if you go back to your first memory, about what age was that? And what was that as far as his abuse?
Um, I was probably about two when I first can remember things being scary. Um, and I can't give you an exact event or situation that occurred. But I remember feeling very alone and very afraid very, very early on in life. Um, I felt like the people that I loved more than anything might not have loved me the same way. And I remember feeling that as a child.
So at a very early age, you knew that life was not going to be very easy.
Hmm.
And when you say that your father suffered from alcoholism, would he come home drunk a lot?
Yes.
And that's how he was abusive. He would come home and him and your mom would get into it.
Hmm. Yeah. Or he wouldn't come home at all. Um, I don't recall this story personally, but I've heard it several times. Um, when I was an infant, I was about 2 weeks old, and my mom went to bed because my dad wasn't home. She hadn't heard from him. She didn't know where he was. And she woke up in the middle of the night to the phone ringing and the door being pounded on. And she thought it was him at first. And she was like, you know what? You weren't home when I locked the door. Find somewhere else to sleep. I'll see you in the morning. Eventually, it wouldn't stop. So she got up and it was the police officers at the door. And they said, where is, his name's Kip. Where's Kip? And she said, he's not here. And they said, well, we followed him here. His truck's in the driveway. His door's open. He ran from us. We know you're hiding him. And she said, I'm not, but you can come look inside the house if you'd like. And she said that they went through my nursery with flashlights, looking under my crib, looking through my closet to make sure that he wasn't hiding in the home.
Mm.
Um, and I was 2 weeks old. My mom was freshly postpartum with me. I mean, even though I can't remember it, that's hard on your emotional well-being when that's the type of environment that you've grown up in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When was the Low. Well, let me ask you this. So you had all this stuff going on at home, and obviously at some point you started going to school. What was that like? Because I would imagine that some of that affected how you felt about yourself, so you carried that into all aspects of your life. What was school years like?
So my mom's actually a teacher. And she taught at my elementary school that I went to. So I was a very anxious student. Um, I was a people pleaser when I was younger, and I always wanted to do well enough to impress the adults in my life. I felt like that was how I was going to earn their love, and how I was going to be worthy of the love that other people gave me. Um, and that helped me, I think, try hard in life and helped me succeed and get to where I am now. But it definitely took its toll emotionally, because I felt like I had to earn people's love and respect. Um, and that was tough. That was a really tough thing to overcome. It's something I still struggle with.
It's amazing that you say that because as I look back at my childhood, one of the first or one of the main things that I remember all through my childhood and sometimes into my adult life was that that was what it was. I always thought that in order to get love, I had to be available for everybody else and I had to do something to please them, and
Hmm.
almost seeking worthiness,
Hmm.
right? My worthiness came from outside of myself.
Hmm.
So you couldn't even escape it when you were at school because your mom was a teacher.
Yeah. And it was hard because, like I said, when we spoke earlier, my dad stalked my mom and would harass her at her workplace, which is a school. I mean, and he would send threatening emails to other teachers. And we lived in a small town that everybody knew everyone. And it made it really hard for us to have friends. It made it really hard for my mom to be able to go to work and do her job as a teacher. Um, it made it just really, really harder than it needed to be, um, for everyone, and everyone knew what was going on, but they only knew enough to know that they shouldn't try to involve themselves, and not enough to say, hey, we need to put a stop to this. We need to help.
What were your friendships like?
Um, I had a few close friends, but everyone knew my dad, and everyone knew that I came from that type of environment. So it was very hard for me to be able to have friends over. It was very hard for me to escape people's preconceived judgments about me. And I still, to this day, struggle with that. People will see me out and they'll say, oh, we know your parents. And then it turns into, well, we know your dad. And then it's, we know you don't talk to him. And everyone has questions and has their own opinion. And it's something that I still live in the town that I grew up in. So that's something that I've not been able to escape yet.
When when would you say, or what would you say was one of the lowest periods going through that time frame that you can remember, where you felt the lowest?
Um, I don't, I had a lot more perseverance, I feel like, as a kid. And I wonder if it's just because I had rose-colored glasses and thought that maybe life would get easier or better, um, when I was younger, and that once I was an adult, I'd be able to choose my own path and overcome these things without being held back. Um, but if I'm being completely honest, I've struggled more now as an adult with my own family that I have, and the things that I now can recognize that I've missed out on, or things that have drastically changed me as a human being. Um, I have a lot more awareness as an adult. And so I feel like a lot of my lower points have happened in the last 10 years versus as a kid.
Do you think that that's necessarily the case, or do you think that you're just more aware now?
I think I'm more aware and I'm able to dive a little bit deeper into my emotions and the things that I've been through. And like I said, when I was younger, I had this sense of like hope, that things would be better eventually, that I had time. And now, as an adult, you recognize the importance of that foundation and that you don't have a lot of time. And the mistakes that have been made have consequences. And so you have to then try to learn how to manage that in your own head once you become aware. I
Yeah,
hope that makes sense.
it makes 1,000% sense. I mean, I completely get it. When I was growing up, I think one of the things that got me through, and it sounds like it's the same for you, was the hope that one day I would be able to be in control.
Hmm.
Right? I would be able to live my own life. And then one day you kind of realize that that's deeper than it seems, because now you have to be responsible for repairing the damage from the past.
Hmm. Hmm. And preventing the cycle from continuing. And I, like I said, I have a family of my own now. I have two children. They are incredible human beings. I love them with my entire heart. Um, but I worry about mistakes that you make as a parent. And I worry about if I am my parents sometimes. Um, and I know that I have enough awareness that I'm probably not doing the same things that they did. I know I'm not doing the same things that they did, but it's easy to tell yourself that you're making mistakes and that you're causing your children to be traumatized, no matter how hard you try. And so I think that that weighs on me sometimes. You carry that with you.
I think, excuse me, one of the reasons that I named this foundation the rose that grew was based on the rose that grew from the concrete.
Hmm.
And Tupac Shakur has this thing, because that's where the concept, at least when I heard of the concept, was through a poem that he wrote, and he talks about, and he says basically, don't judge me based on my damaged petals
Hmm.
of my tenacity to reach the sun. And I'm paraphrasing, because I think that that's the reality. It's that our foundation shapes us,
Hmm.
and although we're not perfect, and although that we will always have flaws that are a result of our upbringing, we still want to grow. And that's the miracle of it, right?
Hmm.
We still want to be good parents, and we still want to be able to heal from all of that.
Hmm.
We hold ourselves accountable, but at the same time, sometimes we place the greatest judgment on ourselves. But it's that awareness, though, that is the miracle,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You get to a point where, although this stuff happened to you, you can't blame it on that anymore.
Yep.
Now the responsibility is on you,
Hmm.
and that's what I hear you saying.
Yeah. And so even though I say, I've struggled the most in the last 10 years as an adult, I really think it has pushed me to be the person I am today, to be as aware as I am today, and to try every day to do better, to make my world better, to make my children's world better, um, and to do better for other people. Like you said at the beginning, you know, none of this pain is worth it if you can't help others.
Right.
And so I really, as much as I struggle now, knowing what I've been through, what I'm lacking, what I never got to experience or have, um, it really pushes me to try to be someone different and to try to build my own foundation now and to really do the work to go back through and think about the traumatizing things that I've been through and how I can use those to do good in the world instead of, dwelling on them and making myself feel bad every single day.
And so now we're talking about the other side of all of it. Was there a defining moment that you can remember where that transition happened, where you went from this scared young lady who whose father was an alcoholic and abusive, and where you went to where you actually, because you talked about knowing that one day everything would be okay when you were an adult. Was there a defining moment where your mindset changed and you realized you had to take control over your own life and your destiny?
It was this year.
Okay.
It was this year. I have struggled with anxiety and depression my entire life, um, for obvious reasons. And this year was my lowest. In January, I had actually taken off work back in November, saying, I need some time to myself. I'm struggling. And I was on leave from work. And in January, I attempted suicide. I took too many pills that I had been prescribed for pain management and ended up in the hospital. My husband found me in the shower, and the ambulance came and picked me up, and I went to the hospital. Um, and I was sitting there thinking about how I ended up there and the choices I was making that got me there. And I said to myself that I needed to make a change, that I couldn't continue letting things that were out of my control affect me so negatively that I couldn't handle the things that were in my control. And um, I, for the first time ever, my husband was actually able to convince me that he was never going to leave. He was never going to give up on me. And that he truly loved me, flaws and all. Um, he was devastated by what I did. And that helped heal a part of me, knowing that even though I was so broken, he still loved me. And I, like I said at the beginning of all this, I felt like I had to earn love. I felt like I had to deserve it. And I always felt like I was so undeserving of it. Um, and this year I had to tell myself that I deserved it. I deserve love. I deserve being here and enjoying life. Um, and I had to do it for myself and for the people that I cared about. Um, and I have. I mean, not year, in the last 4 months, um, my life has drastically changed. Drastically changed. I am a much happier individual. I started my own business and it's thriving. I'm home with my children every night, and my husband and I have a very, very strong relationship right now. We put in the work. We went to therapy. I've gone to therapy. I'm taking care of myself physically in ways that I haven't before. Um, and I can feel the light coming back in. But it took me hitting absolute rock bottom. I mean, within inches of my life, rock bottom, for me to say, you need to do something about this and you can't let this continue to define you.
What were some of the thoughts that you had and the actions you were taking leading that led up to that moment?
Um, I was starting to withdraw myself from friends and family. I was starting to pick fights with people about things that really don't matter. I felt like everyone in the world was against me. Um, and I was convincing myself that no one loved me. Um, like I said, I left my job, that I love m- almost more than anything. I work with animals, um, and it just is my job is a soft place to land because I feel like animals are so innocent. They need us so much and they provide such incredible love.
They love you unconditionally.
And to be able to help them is healing, for me. And I've always loved animals. Even when I was little, if I could have picked a job for myself when I was younger, it would be what I'm doing now. Um, but I left my job and was like, I don't think I can work anymore. I don't think I can do this anymore. And that was devastating because that's who I am to my core.
Right.
And I was abandoning everything that made me me. Almost like I felt like I couldn't be myself because I was convincing myself that I wasn't good enough just being me. And so I was starting to lose everything that made me who I am, leading up to that moment.
You know, I often refer to things as the journey to self. Our the whole point of this journey, I think, is for us to become comfortable with ourselves, to take ownership of our emotions, to take responsibility for our actions, and to really see who we are at our core and to learn to love ourselves. And what I think happens based on how we perceive our childhood and we perceive our value and our self-worth, that until we love ourselves, we can never accept somebody else loving us.
Hmm.
Right? It's almost like there's a part of us that feels like that if we do the wrong thing and they figure out who we really are, they're not going to stick around.
Yep. it's almost like you're walking through life with this imposter syndrome,
Exactly.
right? Like you know what's right and wrong. You're like, man, I'm trying all the time to do the right things, but I feel like I'm always doing the wrong things. And as soon as this person finds out and the mask is off, they're gonna leave.
Yeah. So,
And it's tough, you know, to convince yourself that you're just human
right.
and you're doing the best you can and you deserve to be loved for that.
Do you think, as you had talked about earlier, and about how you always felt like you had to do something to earn people's love and you had to please them? Do you think that it's all related to the to when we become adults and we have more knowledge of ourselves and maybe that doesn't suffice as much? Or as people get closer to us, we realize that they got to be able to see because there's not enough pleasing we can do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think so. I think being someone who really values other people's opinions of them, because that's where we get our worth from, because that's what we were taught. It's very, very hard to convince yourself that people aren't only going to see the negatives in you.
So tell us a little bit about how life is today. You talked a little bit about us, but tell us how life is. What's changed and what's the hope for the future? Like what's your big goal?
To be happy, which is everyone's goal. And it sounds corny, but I really just want to be able to live my life authentically without worrying so much about whether or not I deserve to be able to do that. Um, and I am right now. I really am. And I want to rebuild relationships with people that I trust. I want to have those high value relationships, those high quality relationships with those few people that I know feel the same about me. Um, and it's happening. Like I'm doing it and I know it's working because I've even had clients of mine say to me recently that they are so glad to see me so happy right now because they were really worried about me 6 months ago.
That's amazing.
And that's an incredible feeling. Like, I know I talk a lot about how I don't want to be a people pleaser anymore and I shouldn't find my value in other people. But knowing that there are people who truly care about me, who recognize the difference and the work that I'm doing, um, and that it's actually working means the world because it was a scary, dark place to be in for a long time. And I actually feel like I'm finally coming out the other side.
What what advice would you give to children who are going through the same thing that you went through?
Find someone safe. It doesn't have to be a parent or a family member, it could be a friend or a teacher, but find someone who values you in a way that they can teach you how to value yourself. I think we all need someone. And it took me 30 years to find that someone. My husband is that person for me. But the sooner you can learn that you're worthy of love, um, the better. Because you have to have that belief in yourself to get through the hard stuff. There are going to be people out there who will hurt you, but that doesn't mean that you are a bad person. Um, it just means that they have things that are hurting them too, and they're taking it out on you. And I think little kids need to know that they're not bad because there are mean people. They've got to try to be the good in the world.
I want to thank you. Well, first off, I want to say that thank God that you made it through that period of time because you have so much to offer the world.
Thank you.
You have an amazingly loving spirit. And I'm glad that you got through that because now you have a message. It's, a lot of times I think about the saying, am I my brother's keeper? Right? And I fully believe that everything that we go through is so that we have unique experience to help somebody else. And I'm so glad that the world still has the privilege and the pleasure and the honor of your spirit being here. I want to thank you for taking time to do this interview. And from my spirit to your spirit, I want you to know that I love you. And the reason that I can say that is because you truly are the epitome of I am that rose.
Thank you. It means a lot. I I'm glad I'm here too. I am. I'm thankful every day. And um I hope other people can find the same strength to get through whatever hard things they're going through. We all go through it. Everybody experiences hardship. So I hope other people know that they're strong enough to do it too.
Again, I appreciate you and I want to thank you.
Thank you.